And thank you for joining us for another one of our soft skills calls. Today we have Cody on the line to talk to us about leading with empathy. Real fast before I turn the mic over, just a heads up, you guys know the drill. We're recording the call for all of our friends who are not able to join us today, but otherwise, Cody, take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Mary. I hope everybody can hear me okay. And welcome to Leading with Empathy. So we're going to jump right in and get into this topic, which I think is really valuable I know personally it was really impactful. So let's jump right in. So leading with empathy, VUCA. This was a new one for me. I know that we love acronyms, but VUCA stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And it really describes, in many ways, the world we live in today. A situation of constant, unpredictable change. It's really kind of the norm, it seems like, for most of us, personally, and even, especially in the business world, right? So lingering effects of the pandemic, fears of recession, climate change, political instability, inflation, especially really top of mind, personal and financial pressures. All these are powerful external factors that, on top of the pressures of the job, put immense stress and pressure on our employees, excuse me. So if companies want to keep our teams whole and functioning effectively, managers, we really need to learn with how to lead their teams through these tough times with empathy and being genuine. It does require a bit of a shift from traditional management approaches, though. So here's a question for everybody. Are work and life separate? I know for many of us that becomes kind of gray sometimes. While surveys suggest that many CEOs and other C-suite executives understand the value of empathy, it may not be as easy of a sell for the manager level, right? Which may view empathy as a nebulous or best a sign of weakness at worst. Many were taught that work and life were separate things and that they should leave their feelings at home. As managers, I think we kind of put on the professional, we put on that jacket and that chef coat, and we kind of change our thoughts a little bit. So as managers and chefs, we face deadlines and pressures from above and below on any normal given day. And empathy and empathy training are likely the furthest things that we're probably thinking about at that time. So what happens when we throw this in a crisis? Empathy goes out the door, and we put some risk at the individual and teams and the organization. And really just understanding, we need to understand like a clear approach to measurable benefits of empathy and leading with empathy, and how it can help us overcome some of these headwinds. So, why does empathy matter? You see some statistics there, pretty eye-opening. Really, we're getting into some conversations about turnover, right, and retention. So given the high cost of turnover, empathy makes a really good financial business decision. Anything we can do to support the teams in that regard, right? So, interesting quote, according to the Neuro Leadership Institute, calls for empathetic leadership are on the rise, with one survey linking a lack of empathy to the reason that 54% of people are quitting. Business Solver puts an even finer point on the situation, stating that 90% of employees say they're more likely to stay with a company that understands and empathizes with their needs. Bottom line is it's all about culture. And when we have one that doesn't embrace empathy, employees vote with their feet, just like our guests, right? When they come to dine with us and we don't meet their needs, it's the same thing with our team members. Workers expect support, they expect flexibility during difficult times, as well as empathetic leaders that will meet those needs. So given, if we know that empathetic leaders are significant in helping their companies attract, retrain, and support high-performing people, especially during times of crisis, volatility and uncertainty like we talked about. So likewise, empathetic leaders are influential to their team members' health and well-being. They differentiate themselves from other leaders and make their companies more competitive. So big picture, you know, a lot of information in that quote and in that piece, but really it's coming back to the retention part of this conversation. And I think, you know, we've heard a lot about retention this last year. As a company, it's something that is really a driving force for us with all of our goals this year. So why does empathy matter? So beyond the, you know, the turnover side of it, which is a kind of an easy number, I think we've all spent some time on that and we get it. There's also some productivity benefits as well, right? The Business Solver report found that the same 90% of employees likely to stay at their jobs will likewise be more engaged and more motivated to do so. To put that in measurable terms, happy employees are as much as 20% more productive than employees who describe themselves as disengaged, depressed, anxious, or burned out. So I think we can all, in our minds, especially in our business, we can think of some of those folks and those team members in our world probably right now. And we've definitely crossed paths with them in the past. The Engagement Institute study reveals that American companies lose up to $550 billion in annual revenue because of disengaged workers. These findings underscore the importance of teaching managers and leaders to interact empathetically with their direct reports and team members, respectively. Obviously, modeling behaviors is super important. I think it's one of the most important parts of being an empathetic leader, and leading by example, obviously, is modeling those behaviors. Being consistent is super important as well. When managers do this, right, when they lead with empathy consistently and through their actions and their behavior, it results in keeping good, high-performing teams in place and avoiding the disruptions of turnover, while achieving and sometimes exceeding business objectives, creating long-term bonds of trust and respect and accountability. So a lot of I think of those restaurants when you walk into them and you feel, you know, sometimes maybe something's a little off. That's what comes to mind when I read that passage. So love to share, if anybody would like to share, a leader did not use this soft skill of empathy and what negative outcomes happened or potentially happened. So I have an example, and it has to do with call-outs. And it's a small example because we all deal with call-outs on a pretty frequent basis. And I think at one point in my career, the call-outs used to really bother me. And, you know, and they still do. I mean, obviously we schedule people for a reason. It's not that I'm okay with them, but I think as I've become more empathetic over time and understand that our team members have, lives too, and things happen, things come up. And I tend to treat them a little bit more empathetic at this point. But I had a manager, when I was younger manager, I had a team member that called, and they called in sick, and I got really frustrated and upset on the phone with them, and did not go so great, and ended up getting a call from their parents the next day. And obviously you guys can imagine that wasn't a great phone call to endure. And, you know, we ended up losing that team member, and he had a couple of friends that worked for us too that were, you know, referrals, and it really created a lot of damage that I had to go back and really repair. So I learned a valuable lesson from that. I don't sweat people hard when they call out. I, thank them for letting me know, cover their shift, and then if it becomes an issue over time and it's consistent and this is something that we need to manage, then, you know, we have a performance conversation after the fact, but not on the phone when they call me. All right, so let's get into what is empathy and define it a little bit, because empathy and sympathy often get mixed up. So in fact, sympathy and kindness and empathy are not the same things, right? Sympathy is a natural and genuine response to someone else's condition, but doesn't go beyond simply feeling sorry for them. Sympathy may motivate an individual to try and cheer up a colleague by focusing on the positive, but that can make the colleague feel like the individual is not hearing them. In the worst case scenario, sympathy can be interpreted as, you know, the kind of sucks to be you scenario, or even the almost patronizing, right? Instead, empathy is feeling with people. So you're in it with them and you're sharing their emotions, right? Rather than just feeling about people, you're feeling with them. Empathy is distinct from sympathy because an empathetic leader is closely attuned to the other person. It requires an investment in valuing the whole person. We want to value that person. Here's a couple bullet points you guys see on the screen. Showing genuine interest and awareness of the employees' or team members' lives, being able to identify with employees or putting themselves in employees' shoes, being an active and attentive listener, validating the workers' concerns in a non-dismissive way, and then identifying and considering workers' feelings and needs, responding appropriately. I think this is, as an empathetic leader and as a good leader, we should all be somewhat invested in our people. And I'm sure we all can think of times where we talk about the team members, you know, personal life or dog or, you know, whatever's going on, and making those connections. You know, we can leverage those when we're leading with empathy as well. But it definitely, empathy is different than sympathy because it requires that person to have an investment in the feelings that are going on. So, thank you, Mary. How can you lead with empathy? So let's get into some actionable items that we can take away today. Understanding your own emotions, right? The most important way to lead with empathy is to understand yourself. You can try doing this by keeping a journal in which you name the emotions you experience daily or hourly, build on your vocabulary of emotions over time. The idea is that as you learn to identify your own emotion, it becomes easier for you to understand what someone else might be experiencing. And really, you know, without understanding it, it's really hard to respond appropriately, right? So using our personality assessment tool, Clifton Strengths, you can also leverage this for being a more effective, empathetic leader. Our organization does offer Clifton Strengths, and have all of your managers on the management team taken the Clifton Strengths assessment recently. I know it was probably about a month and a half ago or 2 months ago, Mary. I know that we opened this up to all of the operations team, so your managers can get that assessment if they haven't done so already. But this tool really helps managers understand and validate some of their own styles, and really kind of helps equip them and that entire team with the knowledge so that they can better communicate and better understand each other. You know, it's really about building strong management teams. So you also would like to ask a question and actively listen to the answers. You know, these are active listening and just listening skills are so important when leading with empathy. The key to good questions is making them open-ended rather than simply yes or no answers, or like leading questions, right? For example, what's wrong instead of are you okay? Both questions may come from a genuine place of concern, but the open-ended question is more likely to lead to a conversation, you know, a back and forth. And when there's a back and forth, there's an increased understanding. One question the manager should always ask is, how can I help? From there, active listening is a skill anyone can learn. It involves managers giving their employees their full attention, listening without judging, interrupting or mentally preparing their response before the individual has finished speaking, paying attention to body language, asking the employee to clarify anything the manager is not sure they understand. So just checking for clarity, even going above and beyond that, asking some questions to kind of check and see where their knowledge base is at after did you really understand what they were trying to share with you in that moment? So active listening, super important with empathy. Challenging your bias. Whether we think so or not, we all have some biases, right? Unlike emotions and feelings, which are involuntary, people must choose to be empathetic. A manager's ego, pressures, and schedules can quickly lead them to conclude that they are at work to do a job, not to be a psychologist or a babysitter. And seriously, how many times have we heard that in our world as restaurant leaders, especially the babysitter comment? That, however, isn't how a manager puts themselves in someone else's shoes, right? Part of being an effective manager must be a willingness to understand why a direct report is acting a certain way, how something is affecting the individual, and what they would be doing, thinking, and feeling if they were in the employee's situation. Similarly, individuals naturally gravitate toward people they perceive to be similar themselves. So one of the best forms, or one of the best ways to form someone, one of the best ways from someone to learn empathy is to spend time with people who are different from them. Those differences of opinion, different backgrounds, different interests, all those different things. Those are similar points of view and varying backgrounds really help us become a more well-rounded, empathetic leader as well. So challenging your biases, top of mind. Building trust and collaboration from the entire team. I'm huge on trust, and I know that it's really the foundation for great teams. Collaboration among the team is essential as well, and when you do those two things, we really start to get great results. Understanding that one of the best ways to earn trust is to give it. You should model asking for and offering help and supporting a collaborative team. You should commend team members for asking questions, encourage participation in meetings, and foster a dynamic outside of the four walls. That team dynamic, I know that is super important for the leadership within the restaurant. And when you don't have that collaborative trust, and I love that quote that said giving of trust, that's so important because to get it, you have to give it, right? Promote genuine perspective taking. So the Society for Human Resource Management, Jeremy York, suggests managers should consistently put themselves in their direct reports' shoes. Managers can apply that to solving problems, managing conflict, and driving the development of new and innovative approaches on the job. Imagine a situation from a team member's perspective can be a very powerful tool for building empathy. Some people are better than others, but getting in their shoes, right, and getting into those feelings with them is super important. Validating how the other person is feeling. Another key to managers showing empathy is letting every employee know that what they're feeling in a certain situation is completely okay. Doing so also shows compassion and makes their direct reports feel like that they are valued. However, managers may believe that validation can be difficult in some situations. In such cases, sometimes sit-downs might be fine for managers to say, I don't even know what the right thing is to do in this situation, or I can't imagine how you would feel, but thank you for letting me know, and thanks for sharing, or thanks for trusting me with your feelings. Something along those lines would be great. So I'll take a moment there and just kind of give us a moment to recap. I love this quote: empathetic leaders are influential to their team members' health and well-being. So I know the health and well-being, the mental health and well-being stuff has come up a lot lately. And with all the stressors that our team members have and that they've been going through, I think sometimes it's, you know, part of our job to be empathetic and really show care and concern, maybe give them a little bit of room to be human. So I think super valuable topic right now. So just kind of recap. Leading with empathy, we want to work to understand our own emotions. We want to foster open communication with our teams and really put ourselves in the other person's shoes. And then it's really about validating each other's feelings, right? So call to action, take the Clifton Strengths Assessment if you've not already, and schedule a one-to-one coaching call. So group coaching sessions are available for the entire management team. I know Mary is certified on strengths with Clifton, so she can lead some great discussions. And if you can find the time to, once you get all your managers together on this, to get a manager meeting and get everybody in the room and really go through the coaching one-on-one. After, you know, the learnings that you come out of it are pretty cool. We did this not too long ago with my management group. We had one person that hadn't taken their strengths yet, but it was all very validating. And then we used that and went through our AORs to see if there's anything we wanted to change or tweak. So pretty cool. I love the Strengths Finder. With that, I think we have a few minutes for some questions. If anybody has any, be more than happy to answer. More food for thought than anything today because there's so many one-offs, but.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Cody, for taking us through leading with empathy. You know, just as you said, this is such a pertinent topic for the world that we live in right now. We really truly have to lead with empathy to create the culture in our restaurants that we need to be successful. So thank you for taking us through a great presentation. And thank you everyone for spending part of your Monday afternoon with us. Like Cody said, the Clifton Strengths Assessment is the tool that we use as an organization to help development for our managers, but it's a fantastic tool for really within your own management team, getting to know each other. So in the recap, I'm going to send out a link where you can request the Clifton Strengths Assessment for any of your members of your management team. Haven't taken it yet. But otherwise, if you have any questions, you know who to call. Cody is at the ready, but otherwise, have a wonderful rest of your Monday afternoon. Thank you so much, Cody, for a great presentation, and we'll see you guys all again in a few weeks.
Thanks,
Have
everyone.
a good rest of your day.
Thank you.